the K.
To the K.
To the K.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A to the K Wrestling Show. As we always do, we're going to kick things off by sending it over to Road Dogg for A to the K's little known fact of the week.
Oh, you didn't know?
Beautiful. So Anthony, once again, sticking with the WrestleMania theme, many of us know about back-to-back matches at WrestleMania. The once in a lifetime between Rock and Cena, which happened again the following year. HBK versus Taker 1 and 2. But did you know the first ever match to take place at 2 consecutive WrestleMania shows was actually Bret the Hitman Hart versus Yokozuna? Now, many people remember WrestleMania 9 for all the wrong reasons. The screwy finish that saw Bret Hart lose to Yoko after Fuji interfered through sand or something, flour, who knows what it was, salt in his face. Acid.
Cocaine.
But only for Hulk Hogan to obviously win the title moments later. Boo. But then, WrestleMania 10, the following year, Bret got his chance for revenge as he beat Yoko in the main event to reclaim the championship. So yeah, fun fact. Fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
Certainly is. And
I
this...
love how you got a little jab in about Hogan as well.
Well, you've got it, haven't you?
It's always the time. It's always the time.
It's always time. And it's time for Road Dogg to sing us out of the segment.
Oh, you didn't know?
So, Anthony, we're having a bit of a rework of this segment this week, aren't we?
Retooling it, mate.
Retooling it. So, gone are the days...
Sorry, I felt like particularly Scouse with that mate at the end of it. Sorry about that.
Retooling it, mate.
Sound?
Proper boss. But gone are the days of the highlights and the oh-shites, at least for this week, until we, I don't know, we might change back.
We'll change our minds again. I feel like once a year we rework this week of wrestling.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's been the segment that's seen the most change, but it's always been in our hearts.
A tumultuous history.
It has indeed. But yeah, essentially we figured, we record this show, even though it says in all the podcast descriptions that we're a Monday night show, we record on a Wednesday.
As a Sunday night show.
Yeah, exactly. You can sense the laziness year on year, basically.
Just next year will be a Friday night show.
Why not? Let's go head to head with SmackDown. I think we'll win. But yeah, so obviously we record on a Wednesday, which has created a couple of additional problems. So obviously we're reporting on the Raw from the week before, which means we're like, I don't know, what's the maths? 9 days out of date? Is that how that works?
It's not Raw anymore.
I don't know. It's not Raw anymore. And obviously, Dynamite is what it is. We have to kind of report on it a week late because some show has to suffer. But we figured, and we put it out on our Instagram. We asked you guys, we said, what should we do? Should we keep similar format, but, just talk about the Raw from a few days ago and keep everything else the same? Should we switch to more of a kind of, here's what happened, but here's what we think of the storylines and what's going forward?
We were smarter than Ryback, and we didn't give you the option of retire, so you're fucking stuck with us.
Haha, fuck you guys. So, yeah, I think we're going to go with a bit of a hybrid this week. So, I think the new format is still very much to be explored. But what we're going to do is we're going to still kick off with WWE, Anthony. We still like kicking off. You can't stop us kicking off.
This week's experimental. Join us, won't you?
Come down the rabbit hole and see where we go. But we're going to start with WWE, as we always do, Anthony. And, in a shake-up in itself, we'll kick it off with you this week, Anthony. Talk to us about the first thing on WWE.
Let's. You know what, Carl? The first thing I want to mention, the first thing of note, because we don't do highlights, no shites. We talk about what's worth talking about. So sorry,
That's
NXT. Anyway.
Pew, 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 pew. This is why we need the soundboard. It'll be just shots all day.
Just throwing shots. Anyway, the first thing I want to talk about, Carl, is Seth Rollins and the Seth Rollins situation. This is obviously quite a hot topic anyway, because he still hasn't got an opponent for Mania. Or has he? So let's talk about it. So we had the stuff in Vince's office, which was fucking brilliant, classic Seth. And the only problem I've got with the whole concept really is like it shouldn't have really been that hard for Seth to have an opponent by now. Like,
I mean, he's had his chances.
Edge issued an open challenge. Seth didn't respond to that. You know, we've got Bobby versus Omos for some reason. Seth could have, not that I want these matches, but Seth could have easily challenged Omos as well. You know, these things, or even Lashley. I don't know. You know, it just seems like how's Omos on the card before Seth? Like, no offense to Omos, but he can't wrestle. So on a wrestling show, he's a bit of a moot point.
But they're not wrestling, Anthony. They're entertainment.
That's true. It is sports entertainment.
But he's not entertaining. So yeah, your point's still valid.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So, you know, I actually enjoyed the segments, even if you ignore the sort of the how we got here is a bit stupid. But basically, Vince has handpicked an opponent from Carl. So this has the potential to be a fucking lethal thing for WWE, right? I've been saying this to you, and I'll say it on air. I don't care, right? No one has ever confirmed Cody.
Nope.
The Dirt Sheets have confirmed Cody. WWE have never said anything. You know, Cody's never said anything. We don't know 100%. And I've got a horrible feeling. I'm going to talk about it, Carl. I'm going to talk about it. I've got a horrible feeling, right, that at Ring of Honor, at Supercard of Honor, that's that good old Tony Khan has said you want to stay to the end, you want to watch the whole thing to the end, which could be a Tony Khanism. Like, nothing will happen. But
he's never overhyped anything before.
Right? Well, let's just assume he maybe not overhyping it, right? The worst thing that can happen to WrestleMania this year would be Cody rocking up at Ring of Honor. And I've said this to you, Carl, off the air, but if Cody rocks up at Ring of Honor, which I know is sort of less likely, but let's say it happens, right? And this whole thing's been Cody just screwing WWE just a little bit further, right? No matter what they bring out for Seth's opponents, they could be an actual fucking bear, right? It's still going to be like, oh.
I mean, if Cody rocks up in Ring of Honor, it would be a Will Smith slap in the face to WWE. Haha, we're topical.
Oh, yes. Love it.
But, yeah, I mean, to be fair, when you pose that as a possibility, to quote you from a previous episode of What If, it blew me fucking mind because I didn't even think about it as being an option. Obviously, the thing that sticks out for me is, Sean Ross Sapp himself has not confirmed that Cody is going to be there. And
weirdly, he did tweet when it was like, I can't remember who said it was, and he said we're going to seek to confirm that, and never tweeted about it.
No.
Even, I think, did he joke about it as well? Another wrestler named Cody, just to fuck with us.
He did.
But he's never confirmed it, as you say.
No, not at all. So, yeah, part of me does wonder, are people setting themselves up for a massive disappointment? I think...
And I'm going to precursor this by saying I'm not bothered, right? I don't want anyone to think I'm bothered when I say what I'm about to say, right? If he turns up to WWE, that's shocking, and that's big for the wrestling world. If he doesn't, that's still kind of big for the wrestling world, right? But thinking about the way Cody's been about WWE since he left, he's been fighting with them over trademarks. All during his Japan, he was making reference to the fact that he's not a WWE guy anymore. He helped build AEW, and he left somewhat respectfully. And you go to yourself, well, would he want to do to Tony Khan that bad that he joined WWE at this point? He doesn't need the money, let's be honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's face it, the possibility of it being a devious little plot that has never been publicly known between him and Tony Khan just feels like something that could fucking happen.
Right? Could you imagine?
What a thing it would be. Bear in mind how good this would be for Ring of Honor as well.
Well, I mean,
Ring of Honor would be thrust into the fucking mainstream by that surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a world, Carl, where you can say Supercard of Honor fucked WrestleMania up.
Yeah, that would be unfathomable, ever before. But we live in a crazy, messed up timeline, and so, who knows?
Going back to the original point, I know everyone's very, very sort of sure that this is going to be Cody, and it may very well be right, and I will happily be proven wrong. I'm fine with that, right? But let's say it's not. Who could Vince have handpicked? And would Vince have even handpicked Cody? Put it that way?
I mean, just to throw some fucking, shit into the storm, if you will, it's been confirmed by Fightful that they're bringing Shane McMahon back, Anthony, for Mania. So, could you imagine the fume that would await them if everyone's expecting Cody and we get Shane McMahon?
I would get more fume than when he turned up at the Royal Rumble for no fucking reason. It's a waste of a spot, Shane.
Yeah. I mean, he's the best in the world, Anthony, to be fair. But no, it's a very interesting scenario. I think, I agree with your point completely. The whole Seth Rollins in Vince's office thing was fucking genius, and it's been, the best thing he's done in this build-up, I think. Weird that they released it on social media ahead of Raw. Not going to lie, because why tune into the show? But,
well, thanks, you just saved me 3 hours.
Exactly. But, yeah, it was awesome. Even Vince, he was just like, well, why didn't you just ask me? And he's like,
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I could do that. He's like, well, yeah. So it was very kind of self-referential, if you will, in that regard. But, I mean, who knows? I think it seems like it's going to be Cody, but are we just being massively, swerved?
The only thing I would say, right, is I don't think WWE. Again, this doesn't necessarily have to be Cody, but I don't think WWE would play it this way for WrestleMania if it wasn't someone big. Right, if it's gonna be Shane or something like equally shit. No offense, Shane. I don't think they play it this way. So I think WWE are confident they've got someone big for Seth here.
To be fair, they might go the route of what they did for when Sasha got injured and it was Bianca's opponent and Carmella came out and everyone was like, oh, really? Then all of a sudden Becky Lynch came out and then ended up winning the title and it was a big moment. Maybe they might go down that route. It's like, well, here's my... Honestly, and then Shane comes back and he goes, not you, damn it, you're fired. Fires Shane. And then...
I think you've done it for me. Like, I want it to be Becky Lynch. That'll be a banger of a match.
Yeah. Who's watching our baby?
Save everything.
Yeah. The reason you're not on Mania set because you need to watch the fucking kid. There you go. Manhandle slam. Game over. Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. But yeah, definitely been enjoying the whole Seth Rollins stuff. The Seth Rollins situation.
I love how this is a testament to Seth, and I think we need to acknowledge that this man, he obviously has an opponent, but he can't talk about it. He can't use it in the build-up to Mania. So he's doing the build-up by himself, and he's doing a fucking good job of it. And I think that deserves a plaudit, if you will, because like he's carrying this shit by himself because nobody's allowed to know what's going on.
Yeah. I love the fact that he's like slightly different characters all the time as well, but not so different to the point where you feel like he's had a massive gimmick change. It's like obviously, he was the Beast Slayer like literally a couple of Manias ago. Now he's the guy who like, I mean, I lost my shit when he like laughed inside the giant fucking T-Rex's mouth as part of the segment on Raw. He's like, ha 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 ha. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Lost me shit, but yeah, I'm enjoying him. I think he's definitely a bright spark of the show. So,
and you know what, right? Just outside of this this particular part, but just about Seth, like apparently he's just an awesome guy as well. I saw a tweet the other day about like a super fan of like Becky Lynch wants to get a picture with them. Well, and they basically just pulled up so she could get a picture because they're just lovely people, and Seth's just a massive troll, so he came like photobombing it. But so many people in response to that were like, "Oh, I've met Seth, and he's just a really nice guy," blah blah. I'm like, isn't it cool that he loves what he does, and he's just a nice guy?
It is the bastard.
Where's that world? Why don't we have more of that?
Looks like he does,
Why can't we have more Seth Rollinses and less Will Smiths? You know what I'm saying?
Oh. You keep Becky Lynch's name out your fucking mouth, is what I'm saying.
Topical.
It's what we do now. Yeah. But anyway, moving swiftly.
Mainstream.
It's who we are. We sold out. So, speaking of awesome guys, Kevin Owens, man. Digging him. Massively digging him. So, obviously...
Always been digging him.
Last week, because, we're still going to talk about last week as well as obviously what happened this week as well. But he obviously came out, ball cap and all, dressed as Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was so good, man.
That was particularly good.
He trolled the audience so hard. Everyone was fucking like loving it. And then everyone was like gutted when the fact it was Kevin Owens. He did this little promo. He's like, Stone Cold isn't coming out. The music plays again. It's just him trolling them again. And he fell for it so hard. And it was just top class heel work. This is some of the best heel work I've seen in like the longest time. It's just so simple. But at the same time, it's just so like rage inducing, isn't it? To the point where you're just like, oh, it's so good. He's great. Like Kevin Owens, I think a lot of people, including me, was like, oh yeah, WWE aren't using him right. I'd love to see him go to AEW. I'm kind of glad he stuck around. I mean, let's be honest, he stuck around. He's got obviously significantly more money, and he's now potentially main event WrestleMania Night 1 with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Good choice.
Honestly, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I want Kevin Owens to be a WWE guy.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he is a WWE guy. I know a lot of people refer to his earlier work in the Indies and all that. Everyone starts somewhere. He's a WWE guy. You know, he's a fan from old as a kid, you know. And don't be wrong, if WWE sacked him, he probably would go to somewhere like AEW because you've got to make money on you. But, like, I absolutely love the fact he's signed with them. He's getting decent money. And like you say, this has got to be a childhood dream right here.
1,000,000%.
Fair play to the fucking guy.
Yeah, and he's absolutely killing it as well. Obviously, we talked about, you know, the previous week when he had the ball cap and everything, but even this week, obviously, he came out, and he's just so compelling. Obviously, he had his latest KO Mania t-shirt on, and he's just there basically just saying that Stone Cold's dead. Stone Cold isn't coming back. What we're going to get is Steve, the guy who's got a podcast and wants to get guests on to make himself feel, you know, remember the good times. And it's so good. Like, I legitimately.
So cruel. And the annoying thing is, it's kind of true.
It is kind of true. So yeah, he is one of the best things to do right now. I've always been a big Kevin Owens guy, and I'm made up to see him get the limelight. So
I hate to be the negative guy.
Whoa.
Right, and I'm enjoying all of this, right? I don't want it to sound negative, but it's going to sound negative, right? This is AJ Styles and Undertaker all over again.
Do you think so?
Oh, like, AJ Styles comes out and says Undertaker's not the dead man anymore, he's just the bitch, and so on and so on. It's exactly the same thing. I have not got a problem with it, but this is the same fucking story.
Yeah, but it's completely different because AJ came out and was like, you know, you're Mark Calloway, and then Kevin Owens came out and was like, you're Steve Austin, so it's not that, you know, it's completely different.
I'm just saying, what's going to happen is Steve Austin is going to come out and he's going to beat the living shit out of Kevin Owens to prove he's still a badass. And then we're all going to be like, yay, nostalgia. And that's fine. I'm totally fine with it. But this is like a different legend and a different mainstream wrestler, but the same story from last year.
Do you think we're getting a match? Is it going to be a match? Is it just going to be a beatdown?
Yes.
Is it going to be... what's going to happen?
I'm totally here that it's a match. Like, not a long match, but a match.
I kind of hope it is as well. I know a lot of people are saying, I kind of hope he stays retired. You know, we don't want a HBK incident with Saudi and all that kind of shit. But I don't think it will be. I think he'll come out. Do you know what I would love? Like, I would love it if his music hits and he comes out and he's just in his vest and his trunks already. There's no, like, you know...
Yeah, no fucking
and everyone's just like, oh shit, it's a match. And like, that moment, I think would be...
That would be nice, yeah.
You know what I mean? If he comes out like just in his usual gear and then it's like, well, now I'm going to have a match. It's like, yeah. But I think if he comes out and he's dressed to fight, and it's like, you know, screw the Kevin Owens show, I'm going to kick your ass. And they ring the bell and he kicks his ass. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm totally here for that.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to admit, it's the same fucking story.
Maybe slightly. As long as they don't, you know, as long as it's not a cinematic match in a graveyard somewhere, then it's completely different. Completely.
It's in a brewery.
Just throwing the new fucking El Segundo fucking Stone Cold lager at him. That he's launching.
Drowns a bit of vat of beer at the end. It's boss.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, loving that.
So, Carl, and I feel like we're still kind of in O'Shea territory with my next one, and I do apologise for that, but it's hard to avoid. The whole stuff with Theory and McAfee, right? And McAfee?
McAfee.
And
I learned how to say
Pat.
it.
The whole stuff with Theory and Pat, right, is just a bit of a clusterfuck as far as I'm concerned. So let's start with, you know, the whole smacking the headphones off shit. It's just fucking awful. Like, run into Vince's office, like, why Pat couldn't go in there? Like, it's not the forbidden door. You can open it. Hey! Anyway. And then we have, like, Theory showing up on Raw and beating Ricochet, who's the IC title holder, because, you know, fuck him, you know. And that involved Pat in no way at all. Like, I just, what is going on here? How is this a build to Mania? Why are we just doing Ricochet over for no reason?
We're going to come on to that.
A few losses here. Why are we doing this? It's, yeah, I just... Sorry, yeah, I am kind of stepping on your next points. Apologies. But I just, like, I know it's like a bit of a throwaway match. This is your piss break, isn't it? But I don't know. Could it not been built a little bit better? Like, there's no real. I'm not even like invested in their whole motivation for not liking each other.
No, the whole thing is proper alien to me because you've still got Austin Theory on Raw, completely independent from Pat McAfee, doing his own thing, going after the United States title by the looks of it. But then on SmackDown, suddenly he's in a big feud with Pat McAfee, which the feud literally comprises of him going up to him on commentary and smacking his headphones off every week. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean...
But it's such... I don't know, like, as far as childishness goes, that's pretty childish as well.
Yeah. It's like, I don't get
You're
it.
Still, Theory, you're still just a discount fucking Tyler Breeze, right? Just fuck out of here.
A selfie-taking motherfucker. But, like, the point you made, though, of, like, Pat McAfee runs to the back, Austin Theory runs into Vince's office because... Apparently Vince is there every week on SmackDown.
I'll be honest, I just wanted to make a Forbidden Door joke, but yeah, you're right about that.
But it's like, literally, Pat McAfee had Vince on his show the other week, so clearly Vince is, likes him. And he's like, well, I can't possibly go inside his office. It's like, are you shitting me? Yeah, just go in. Like, are you messing? So, yeah, it didn't make any sense, unfortunately. And this is, a piss break match, as you quite rightly said. I don't think anybody's anticipating this for Mania as being something,
Maybe
awesome.
we I like the term piss break. We should have called that podcast that,
Yeah, just clearly people need a really long piss because we ramble a lot. So
we do ramble.
There you go. Speaking of which, segue, because we like to do that. Someone said this week, did you know this?
I'm intrigued.
Speaking of rambling, Bray Wyatt, he had his obviously Rambling Rabbit and all that kind of stuff. Do you know all of his puppets spelt out harm?
Hang on.
He had Husky fella.
Yeah, Huskus the pig
boy. What's a face?
Mercy the buzzard.
Hang on. Well, what? Abigail.
Abigail, yeah. He had Rambling Rabbit.
Rambling Rabbit for R. And
fucking hell, and he had Mercy the buzzard.
Mercy.
Right?
Harm. There you go. Fun and educational.
Fun, educational.
So, Anthony, moving on to the next one, right? What the fuck has happened to the Intercontinental title? It annoys me so much. And people who listen to this or watch this show know I am an Intercontinental title mark. It was the workhorse title. All the best people held that belt. What the fuck is it, right? Ricochet won it after it. The mad fact is, the IC title hasn't been defended on pay-per-view or premium live event since last WrestleMania. A whole fucking year without it being prioritized in the slightest on any top card, right? But they put it on Ricochet. They finally take it off Shinsuke, who's just held it and done nothing with it for ages.
Because they had a conversation like, who's the IC title holder? They had to look into the IC title's on the verge. I think I mentioned this before. This is on the verge of getting fucking Alundra blazed. This title.
Seriously, right? It is. To be fair, I legitimately think they were going to do Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville for the title, and they were going to David Arquette that motherfucker, and Johnny Knoxville was going to win it, right? But I think they thought better of it for the fucking few times
they
they've ever done.
remembered WCW did not do well with that.
Exactly. So they then went, well, I don't know, who can we put it on? Who's the only babyface we've got on the roster on SmackDown? Ricochet. Okay, we'll give it to him.
Are we sure Ricochet's babyface? Because his Twitter would suggest he's fucking not.
Who even knows at this point, right? So
I'm not saying Ricochet was wrong in his Twitter, but he quite recently is like, if you see me in the airport, leave me the fuck alone and stuff like that. It's like, look, we get it. You don't want to be bugged, and it's annoying when people bug you, but like, you've literally just got the title and people are knowing who you are. Maybe just kind of not bitch so much. Like, I'm not saying it's a heel move, but it kind of come across a bit heely, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But yeah, so obviously they stick it on Ricochet, and it's like, well, okay, new Intercontinental Champion. How do you make him look strong? Well, Anthony, you make him lose twice in the one night to fucking Los Lotharios, right? And then, if that isn't bad enough, he then makes an appearance on Raw this week. Wow, SmackDown guy, Intercontinental Champion. He's so big, he's making his way onto Raw as well. And he gets beat there as well, loses to Austin Theory.
Yeah.
For no reason.
I'm thinking, just out of the box here, Carl, maybe like WWE need to do a special premium live event for the mid card and for people like Ricochet that they just simply call middle finger.
I like that.
That seems to be all the fucking getting.
That could be a fucking thing right there. But yeah, so I think I don't know. And to top it all off, so he loses 3 times in the last 7 days. And to top it all off, he's not even on the card at Mania. The Intercontinental title will not be defended again. So it's gone a full year, no defense on any premium live event.
Shocking.
I don't even think.
Fucking shocking.
I don't even think he's in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown. I think what they've done is they've made now a triple threat Intercontinental title match on SmackDown between Ricochet and Los Lotharios.
That pisses me off as well, right? Let's talk about Ricochet for a sec, right? I've tried to take the piss, which may have landed or not, I don't know. But the reality is, Ricochet is a really talented guy. And the IC title is a title, Carl, I think we can both agree that we fucking love. So the disrespect here is just shocking. Like, how is it not a bigger deal? It just... this was a chance to put it on Ricochet and let it actually be built as something like no one even remembers anything of Ricochet's run, right? That's right. I remembered his name. No one even remembered much of Ricochet's run. Can you even fucking hell, Shinsuke's run, right?
Maybe they could have done a feud with Sheamus, over being Irish. It could have been Ricochet and Sheamus fighting for the Irish title.
Don't throw Sheamus into this. I'm struggling enough with names, right? I can't put another one in there, right?
So Sheamus Nakamura, yeah, you were saying.
Ricochet, right?
Ricochet Nakamura, you were saying, yeah.
But honestly, in the last year, can you remember anything that Shinsuke has done title-wise? And this is no disrespect to Shinsuke. He's he's an awesome wrestler. I remember the hype when he debuted on SmackDown. It was awesome, and they've just totally fucking plummeted that.
You may as well repackage Shinsuke as Space Ghost, because all he is fucking coast to coasting his way through his contract, doing fuck all. That's what I'm saying.
And you know what? That's awesome. Get paid for that shit. But it's just so disappointing. An entire run with the IC title, and the only time anyone really talks about it is when you lose it to Ricochet. Exactly. And again, not a bad problem, but I can't remember a single good defense or decent match, or like you say, he's not been on a single premium live event.
Exactly.
Insane.
And almost just as much of an afterthought, the US title doesn't even get defended either, so that's also part
Who's
of
even the US title holder?
It's Balor now, because Balor and Priest have a thing going on. But except they're both in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, so of course
that's sorted there. And that's another thing. We've got 2 nights of Mania, and we can't even fit the fucking Battle Royals or anything.
That's what I don't understand.
What the fuck?
You can't fit an Intercontinental title or a US title match, let alone the Battle Royal. You can't fit anything on. It's 2 nights.
All this other shit going on. We've got to see Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee.
Wow.
Of course, we've no room for the actual titles.
Baffling, to say the least. So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so next one that is a notable talking point, because we don't do highlights or shades. No, Carl Lennon.
Notable talking point of the week.
Bianca and Becky. Now, this is a match I am actually really looking forward to, because I feel this is hopefully the full circle. I was skeptical about this at first, right? I think this is hopefully the full circle of Bianca's, let's say, redemption. After a 21-second loss to Becky. And I actually said to you not long after that match, she's not gonna get redeemed. They're just gonna throw her back down the mid card and not give a flying fuck. Because I honestly thought that's what WWE were gonna do, right? But I am so hopeful now that this is her redemption. This is her getting back on top and fulfilling that story, which is awesome, right? But the whole voice box and hair stuff, it's not, the story's already here. And I get that the voice box thing kind of happened by accident, right? That's fine.
It sounds like the world's worst legal firm. Voice box and hair.
We're here to defend you.
We are the shit-est legal counsel.
Nice. But the story's already there. We don't need all this, what's the word? Extra shit. Yeah, so I'm here for the match, and it's going to be a good match with any luck. I did throw a wild theory out there to you, Carl, the other day, and I'm going to put it out there now, right? Love it or hate it, this is just the way I think WWE works, right? They're making a lot of references to hair, right? We have Bianca cutting Becky's hair off quite recently and such, right? I have a horrible feeling, and this is not the way I want it to go. I have a horrible feeling this is them ending the whole Bianca hair whipping thing. And Becky's going to take the win, and in a heel move, she's going to cut off her ponytail. And I mention it because we've done hair versus hair before, and this is, I feel like, a very WWE way of ending a gimmick. And I don't know, I've just got a horrible feeling they might try and go down the line. The reason I'm massively not a fan, obviously, is because Bianca, I think, really needs the win here and should have the win here. But I have a horrible feeling that it's going to end in some sort of hair-like shenanigans.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, to be fair, I can't see them doing it. I don't think they will end up going that way. It's been a very weird road. Like, surely there was enough build behind the fact that Bianca Belair wanted to redeem herself after obviously getting beaten in 21 seconds. Therefore, that's all the story you need. So, fair dues, the first one was accidental. Becky got a sore throat, so he then worked that in where she was going to get revenge. Okay, fine. Then the hair stuff, I don't know. But what always makes me laugh is whenever this happens, and it happens way more frequently than it needs to. It's like, we get it, the women, they've got hair, they like the hair. Why do you have to cut it off all the time? But they always do it, and it's like, I'm going to cut the bottom of your extensions, ha ha ha. And it's like, it's,
like,
we know it's not your real hair.
Because no one wants to fucking commit to it, because like, no one will ever actually be fucking scalped unless you're
Molly Holly, fucking
Molly Holly. Fair play to Molly Holly. And that's not even, I'm not even trying to take the piss, that is fucking respect to that woman.
Fair play.
Respect to that woman, because it was Carl who educated me on this. That got her on WrestleMania. Fucking fair play.
That's what you had to do back then. That's what you had to do.
To pay your dues.
But yeah, Molly Holly was a fucking legend in her own right. But yeah, sidebar, but it just always makes me laugh. It's like, oh no, she's going to cut her hair off. Just going to trim the bottom of your extensions here. It's like, Becky's hair isn't that long. That's not her hair. That's extensions. Chill out.
Becky's just coming out of it like, wow, thanks.
Well, exactly.
That's awesome,
but to be fair, though, I think you might use it into the storyline to give Becky a bit of an edge. I think she's going to maybe rock up as a bit of a short-haired Becky Lynch at Mania, with maybe a bit of a different attitude as well. But I mean, I can't see it going any other way. But it's a tough one, right? I mean, because both matches are on night one. We've got Becky versus Bianca. We've got Charlotte versus Ronda. Are both women's titles going to change hands on the same show?
This is the problem, and I don't want Charlotte to keep the title. So
there you go. But at the same time,
change really.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think I'm leaning that way. I think both of them are going to change, but that in itself is going to be quite a big, quite a big deal. But yeah, I honestly don't know where it's going to go. But I don't hope it's not going to be a hair versus hair kind of deal where the braid gets cut off and stuff like that. Because
I feel like we've already look. Let's be honest, right? We've concentrated that much on hair that even if she doesn't achieve it at Mania, Becky is going to try and cut her hair off. Right, that's going to happen because we've already put too much attention on the hair thing. We're going to get some sort of hair-like shenanigans. Whether she actually go through with it will be another question. But maybe, I'm afraid, Carl, there's going to be hair involved.
Maybe one day the women's revolution that supposedly happened will actually be true, and it won't be silly shit like this.
We need thumbtacks. You can cut each other's hair.
This is true.
Next up, fight. Can't wait for that.
Well, speaking of ridiculous shit, it's not going to escape another week, even though we don't do highlights and no shites. It's got to be talked about because it's a prominent part of Monday Night Raw. 24/7 shenanigans, not as good as Seth's shenanigans, but it was the Seth Rollins situation. I figured it was the same word, it wasn't. So 24/7 shenanigans. So Reggie has proposed to Dana Brooke, who is already engaged and has worn an engagement ring every single week. But
we don't know about reality.
Exactly. And do you know what? She said, yeah, so sucks to be her fiancé. But then, obviously...
What a simp.
But then, as is tradition, whatever they do, Tozawa and Tamina can do better. So Tozawa comes out in his little suit and he proposes to Tamina, who also says yes.
Holy shit, are we going to get the first double wedding?
Oh, maybe. And then someone else is going to win the 24/7 title in all the commotion, imagine. I don't know. I don't see what the end game is with it. So obviously, it's one of the things
there's going to be a lot of pins from the honeymoon.
Hey, I like that. You know, that's a very good point. Imagine if that... Whiskey everywhere. Imagine, right?
That's a good point. I'm sure I shot far from a good point there.
No, right? Can you imagine they're going to cut to like the next scene where they are consummating their marriage and Reggie's on top and there's a referee under the bed counting to 3. Like, to be fair, that could turn this whole fucking vendetta I've got against the 24/7 title around, man.
That is Eric Bischoff like era of WWE. That's not current WWE.
Meanwhile, you've got Tozawa and Tamina, on the other side of the bed, and Tozawa's going full on Rain Man, just as the referee's counting. It'd be amazing. Everyone would rejoice, and yeah, it would redeem itself entirely. But yeah, so I couldn't see what the end game was. Now I can. It's totally redeemed itself, and we'll move on to the final WWE topic of the week.
And naturally, Eric Bischoff's probably going to be the minister because I'm disappointed anytime he's not.
That's it. Well, AEW don't want him, so he has to go back to WWE. They still have him. So.
I love how you can gauge, who he's working for by how much he bitches on social media. That's kind of handy.
Of course, that's the.
He worked for WWE this week.
That's the future-proof. How to future-proof your career prospects.
Oh yeah. So the next one, Carl. And it's kind of bitchy, but kind of not. So I'm not going to call it no shite. We don't have no shites, of course. I'm still getting used to this format, Carl. It's new to me. It's strange. I'm scared. But Brock and Roman. Now, I'm still loving this, right? It is legitimately the only thing carrying SmackDown. Like, we've said this before, and someday people will come to terms with this, right? But if you take Brock and Roman out of the SmackDown card, SmackDown's shit. And no one wants to admit that just yet. Some people want to admit that, but not a lot of people want to admit that just yet. But it's Roman. It's Roman's show, right? Mm-hmm. And rightly so. However, I'm loving the build. I'm loving the fact that this feud seems somewhat personal. But you know what? They can't all be hits. Some of them have to be misses. And, one example I'll give is the fact that Roman being fuming that Brock was trashing his dressing room is one thing, but he was totally fine with smashing his car.
Exactly. Because your dressing room, which is in an arena somewhere, you don't own any of the property.
WWE property, yeah.
You would be fuming. Of course you would.
Yeah,
but, your personal car, well, you've got loads, so it doesn't matter.
So, we're not all. It's not all going to be hits, but you know what? Let's be honest. The build to this has been generally really fucking good, and Roman in particular, I think he's done a fantastic job of showing that it's sort of personal to him. Like I think he's slowly built this whole thing a couple of times. Even with, as stupid as it sounds, even with Seth, it was less about the title, and I think it's showing that he's almost like he's petty enough that it's not about the belt. It's about the fact that they may get a win on him, and he doesn't like that. And I think that makes this story so much fucking better. And I'm really loving the whole build generally. But
is it as good as the tug of war that we had the last time these guys faced off at Mania? That was special in its own right.
I mean, that was particularly special, as you say.
But I think do you know what? It was a really good choice, I think, to keep them separated on the kind of go home Raw. Whether that happens on SmackDown, it remains to be seen. But I think obviously the whole stuff of like I'm waiting for you in your dressing room and I'm gonna fucking crash into you and all that kind of stuff. It was nice to see them not completely go after each other. It didn't really make so much sense storyline wise because they were both in the same building. So why wouldn't Brock be going after him? Because but still, I think it was good to see them.
That's what. If separated. You look too much at the story, that's what kind of makes it hard. Is like you're going for each other and it's personal and it's not about the show or the belts. So why wouldn't they go for each other? But you kind of like that's where you kind of have to like let it go a little bit. But that's even being massively petty. I think the build is still fantastic for this one.
Agreed. And so let's move over to AEW to chat about what they had going on over last week. Because we don't do ratings anymore because it's not how we roll. We're just going to chat what happens. Another t-shirt. Another t-shirt idea. Oh shit! Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah. I'm going to design that. I'm going to send it over to Dax. Which, speaking of Dax,
wow.
Look at that. It's fucking segue and a half. So the first thing I want to talk about, and it's not something that we'll do super often unless we absolutely need to, but we're going to highlight just a match this week. So less about where the storyline's going and what's happening, but CM Punk versus Dax Harwood was the fucking love letter to Bret Hart, right? And I love Bret Hart too. He is my favourite of all time alongside the late great Mr. Kurt Hennig. So this effectively was a Bret's love on a pole match. Who could gain Bret's love the most with what they did in that ring? Super solid technical wrestling match. But storyline standpoint, it wasn't just a match, another throwaway. As long as you believe in the rankings, which I know you're not, you don't have the most faith in them, but this to me is
again another use of FDR. Fuck the rankings.
Fuck the rankings.
Bullshit.
But to be fair, from a storyline standpoint, this is what Punk needs to do now. He's had his feuds. He's had his Darby thing. He had Kingston for a bit. He had MJF, and it's like, at the end of the day, he's said he wants to work his way up to the title, so he needs to start having more matches to get more wins and to get his way up there, because if he's not wrestling all the time, then how does he climb the rankings to actually get the opportunity? So this was, a lot of people look at it and be like, well, why the fuck is CM Punk going against Dax Harwood? That makes no sense. I didn't mind it, and knowing the fact that these two are both Bret Hart marks, I loved it.
As much as I sort of semi-joke about the rankings, this is where it does work, because it gives you matchups that, you go, well, what's that for? But at the same time, it shows you, this is a good mix. I wouldn't have expected to... Not that I wouldn't have expected to like this match, but it's not something you expect to get, but it's still a good match.
It's something which on paper you would never book, would you? Because why would you go CM Punk against one of these guys from this tag team? So you look at it and you go, well, that is weird. But knowing, obviously, what we know, knowing the fact they're both massive Bret Hart marks, and, you could see it in the match they put together, it was a classic. Put it this way, I can't, forget us, because, I can put it over as much as I possibly want. Jim Cornette loved this fucking match.
I mean, you can say what you want, Carl, but they still showed a lot of heart.
Let's see what you did there. There was a lot of heart on display. You're absolutely right. But yeah, phenomenal match. Two, super huge Bret Hart fans put on a technical clinic. What more can you want? Solid match. And as I was saying, Jim Cornette. Forget what we're saying about it. Jim Cornette fucking absolutely loved the match, and he hates AEW. So there you go. Yeah. Must have been good.
There you go. They really won Jim over, and that's not an easy thing to do.
No, it isn't.
I don't think. I don't know. Anyway, Carl, speaking of, not an easy thing to do. No, that doesn't work. Does that work? It might work. Anyway, the Blackpool Combat Club is what I'm going to talk about, Carl.
Kick ass.
And I'm going to tell you now, right? Going forward, for the foreseeable, you are never going to hear a bad word said about the Blackpool Combat Club. Not from me, right? Because they're just badass.
Right? I mean, they could have gone with Blackpool Pleasure Club. Could have meant a lot of different things.
I love it. I fucking love it. But this whole thing was fucking brilliant. I mean, obviously you and I are huge fans of Griff, so it's great to see Griff involved. We've often said he is a young Edge. Did we go with Edge? I feel bad for not remembering that.
It was a young Edge.
I kid, of course. Yes, he's got bags of talent, and I mentioned this. I'm not being sour on Brian Pillman Jr. here, but I feel like I think Griff is a bigger star in the making, if I'm all honest.
I agree.
Not that I need to compare the two, but they're a tag team, so you kind of do. Griff is he's going to be a bigger star, and I'm sorry about that, Brian, but
Pillman can go back to Metheny and just cry his tears. I'm not MJF.
Anyway, so it was brilliant to see him getting time to shine. Fuck it, I'm going to respell it in these matches. And let's talk about the question mark, I suppose, because we've been debating this for a few weeks now, low key, Carl, you and I. Julia Hart, still kind of intrigued here, right? Mm-hmm. And it feels like they are still building to something. But we kind of thought this was kind of maybe not. Like I think you've said a couple of times now that we thought she'd have probably joined
House of Black already
House
by
of
now.
Black
Yeah,
by now, and she hasn't. But obviously something's still going on. So
yeah.
do you think it's still House of Black bound, and they're just doing like a slow burn here, or what?
It must be. I still don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not under any illusion that this makes any sense. Like, I don't know how a bit of black mist in your eye can suddenly turn you into some kind of weird, weirdo sit at the on the steps.
You don't understand that, Carl.
Rocking back and forth.
This podcast.
It's a good point. But no, I think it's definitely a really intriguing, kind of understory that's been going on for a couple of weeks now, and it's been drawn out. Maybe I would have liked to seen it happen sooner, but the fact that she's still doing shit like this makes you intrigued. Like, it's clearly going to go somewhere. Will it be House of Black? I think so, but yeah, let's see.
Indeed. And of course, just before we move on, Carl, we'll mention an absolutely fantastic promo from Mox after the match as well. It's good to see Mox back and back on form.
Indeed. I love this little trio they've got going. Blackpool Combat Club. Love it. It's
just thing dreams are made of.
It is, indeed. William Regal, man. Fucking ledge.
I'm so glad Regal's on our screens again.
Indeed.
I was actually a little bit worried he was going to retire, but now he's rocked up on AEW. I'm so happy.
Made up. However, what I'm not made up about, Anthony, this week. Right. I love Hook. I loves me some Hook. I'm hooked on Hook.
You're hooked. You're a hooker.
I'm hooked. I am a hooker. Working the red. What is it? The red hook section.
Oh, yeah, I feel like you don't know what it is.
Yeah, slip my mind.
What is it? Like you haven't been there.
But yeah, obviously, I am a hooker. Big fan of Hook. And I don't mind Danhausen either. I'm a big fan of him. This whole segment, though, didn't make any sense. So, QT Marshall did a certificate of appreciation or something for Hook, who came out, smashed it over Aaron Solo's head, walked off, and then Danhausen comes on the ramp and tries to curse him, of which Hook just kind of looks at him like he's a weirdo and walks off. Danhausen kind of sells it, which is still comical, kind of like, but it always works, what's going on? But the problem I have is, why did Danhausen come out and try and curse him? It was based on nothing.
Yeah. It's not like he's needed much story anyway, but you're totally right. It like, other than so they can basically have Hookhausen, which is going to be a thing, like, they literally had no reason for this. You're totally right. 100%.
So, yeah, it's also, not very often.
The fact that Hook approached it like any fucking teenager approaching Danhausen would.
Yeah.
Like, just give him a look of like, what the fuck, and carry on walking. That's pretty much how Danhausen gets a reaction from teens.
Exactly. Yeah, so it just felt really out of place, which is a shame. Obviously, love the pair of them, but this was a miss for AEW, so strange.
I agree. Speaking of misses, Lance Archer, Carl, and I hate to say it, Lance Archer's got bags of potential. He is the Mad Hawk monster after all, whatever that means. But we're back to his usual shtick, if you will. He brought out a road student, if you will. I'm going to say, if you will, a few times, so brace yourself. And he sent him, it's just one of them. Like, we had this typical Lance Archer match, and Dustin saves him ahead of the match. And we don't need that. Like, Lance Archer could be, I don't know what he could be, if I'm honest with you. I think this is kind of the problem with AEW at the minute, and kind of the problem for Lance. They don't want him in the main title scene just yet, but he could be a main title player. And this is where maybe, I hate to agree with the people who hate AEW, but maybe the roster is a bit overstacked for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe. He just hasn't found his place, I don't think, on the roster. I think he's had a lot of opportunities.
Everything about him screams that his place should be the main card, but they don't want him there.
Yeah, maybe. But I think, like, even just like finding his feet in terms of what this Murderhawk monster is, like, you and me say all the time, like, what is the gimmick?
What is a Murderhawk?
We hate the fact that he just kind of brings random people out and, starts beating them up on the way to the ring. And yeah, is it different? Of course it is. But does that mean it's good?
Like,
no.
I have legitimately joked about this before, but I'm not joking when I say the Murderhawk monster as a name just sounds like he's picked things that sound cool.
Yeah. Murder.
Hawks. I'm here. I'm the monster truck devil, because it just sounds cool. Like, it's just stupid. Like, what is it?
I like that, actually. Monster truck devil. Genius. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's it's such a shame. It felt like such a fantastic pairing sticking in with Jake because it just made sense. And Jake was really good in the role that he did, but they just couldn't quite find the spark they needed. But now they've got like Dan Lambert involved with him as well, and where's Jake? And then they go back to this old kind of Lance Archer shit, which I'd hope that he'd
into moves next. It's just
well, exactly. So yeah, it feels like a massive step back for him. Unfortunately, like when he came back and he was going after Hangman Page, I was like, you know what, I'm digging it because this is a credible threat to Page, and he looks like a more serious version of himself. But he comes back and it just, I don't know, it's too cartoony. Which I'm not saying like like comedy and cartoony type stuff is bad for AEW, but it's just not the right fit for Lance, I think.
You're right. Lance deserves better.
Indeed. So in terms of the next one then, so we had the Hardys, Sting and Darby Allin taking on some peeps. And basically, it hasn't taken too long now, has it? Until Jeff decided he's going to jump off some crazy shit.
That's what he's there for.
That's what
his contract says. Jump off things.
Will jump off things. He's just holding a fucking sign on the sidewalk. So that's where Tony found him. Will jump off things. But yeah, so AEW did this quite well. Another kind of crazy multi-man, clusterfuck of a match, but it doesn't feel too, like too much is going on. But ultimately, what I want to talk about is, do you think this is leading somewhere? It has to, right? Like we've got the Hardys, we've got Sting and Darby, all friends, happy. Like, I want to see this match. I want to see them against each other. Like, I legitimately want to.
Definitely.
So how do they get there? Is it going to be some... Because they're not going to...
Sting's just going to attack Jeff because of history.
I mean, it's a possibility. But, I don't think they're going to turn either of them heel. So they're just going to do like a, honourable kind of... they're going to go after the tag titles. And
out of respect kind of thing.
Yeah, like maybe like a tag title eliminator or something. Like, it needs to happen, but it's kind of how we're going to get there. They're still, they're teaming up. They're still kind of shifty eyeing each other. So something will happen. I don't know how it's going to get there, but I want to get there. And I want to see how it gets there, if you will. So, yeah, all in all, nice little fun segment. Jeff Hardy's a crazy person. We knew that anyway. Sting, at his age, just chill out, man. But it's enjoyable nonetheless.
Just chill out, man. He was a surfer for like a decade, Carl. He knows how to chill out.
He knows how to ride them waves. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, controversial topic for you, Carl. I don't know why I've said it's controversial. It's not. But it might be. I don't know. Thunder Rosa. I love Thunder Rosa, as you know.
Really? I've not heard you say that so far today.
I know. So she's just won the title, as you know. And for me, this is where the controversy comes in. This hasn't been the best showing for the new champ. And I'm not against you, Thunder. Still a massive fan. But, being cut off by Vicky and getting attacked by Nyla didn't work for me. And honestly, Carl, and I don't know how you feel about this, and this is nothing against Nyla. She's super talented and definitely should be in the title picture in the future. But I feel like every time somebody wins the title, they have to feud with Nyla. Now, am I wrong in that, or does that seem like something that just has to happen?
I think you might be on something there, to be fair. Yeah.
When we're building on a roster that's so much better than it used to be, as much as people still like to pretend like AEW has got a shit women's roster, we've got a fucking pretty stacked women's roster at this point. We're still like, well, let's throw Nyla in the mix. And again, it's nothing against Nyla. She should be in the mix. But I feel like we had this with Hikaru, we had this with Britt, and now we've got this with Thunder. And it's like, it didn't have to be a first feud out of the gate. This to me straight away says that Nyla's not going to win, which isn't a great thing because Nyla should be a credible threat. But because she's her first feud out of the gate and Thunder deserves a fucking decent run, she's not going to win. I know she's not going to win. I already know she's not going to win. What's the point?
Do you know what? It is a really good point that you make because she will end up getting the reputation of being the person who goes up into them title matches and never winning any of them. Now, obviously, she did Britt Riho. She did win the belt, and she held it for a decent amount of time. But at the same time, yeah, you're right. It's kind of like a rite of passage. If someone wins the belt who, beats Nyla, then what's next for them? So it would have been nice to see them go a different route with this. But part of me thinks it might be, maybe Thunder Rosa had even requested it. I know she's really close with Vicky, and they've got a lot of stuff.
This is the thing. Like, I don't think it's been done out of disrespect. This, in a way, it says how much respect they have for Nyla, that they want her still involved in like the main events of the women's side of things. But for me, it's just like, it can't always be Nyla. You need to mix it up a bit. We need to showcase that you've got quite a varied women's roster now.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. I think maybe the fact they got the TBS title as well is maybe they're trying to create some kind of levels in there or something where you wouldn't want to pull someone out like a Ty Conti or someone else going for the kind of TBS title.
And you make a solid point. You got Ty Conti there at the TBS level, so yeah, like you wouldn't want to pull her out of that. But then there's we keep getting talks of Athena. Like, I think she's someone who could come into the title scene, and rightly so. So like, you pitch her there, don't you, instead of the TBS.
I mean, it's a match both of them want, as they've both got on record to say. So
I know. I mean that I mentioned her name by design rather than just happenstance. I'll be honest with you.
It's almost like I read into that somehow. But yeah, no, I think obviously it's not just you being a massive Thunder Rosa mark. It did feel a bit underwhelming. The fact that her first appearance with the title, she was just kind of. She didn't even get a chance to speak. She came out, was cut off by Vicky, beat up by Nyla. It was like. Oh.
I mean, that's a solid point. Like, she should have been given a moment. I think it's been deserved. It's been earned at this point that she should have been able to just embrace the audience and the fact she won. And we kind of got robbed of that a little bit as well.
True.
Not a massive deal, but a deal nonetheless.
Speaking of deals, so the deal that MJF and Wardlow have, see how I segued that like a fucking pro?
Yeah, like a boss.
Is being brought into question now because obviously, MJF has, still owns Wardlow and he's not going to release him from his contract, even though Wardlow says that he doesn't want any part of it.
Can I just give a nod to AEW's attention to detail?
Go on.
That he is not on AEW's roster on the website because he is MJF's employee. I love that attention to detail. I really do.
Do you know what? I saw that come up this week. Was he on there ever? Or has he been removed now as part of MJF's request?
I'll be honest, I didn't pay enough attention. I think, from what I gather from social media, he was on there and now isn't because MJF and him have fallen out, which is a nice touch. I didn't pay enough attention to their roster to know whether that's true or not, but that's certainly what social media tells me.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, regardless, it's definitely these kind of nice little touches that just kind of adds that extra kind of pizzazz to what's going on. But,
yes.
We have MJF coming out, and he's just fucking ace. I just love the guy. I can't wait to meet him at the end of the month. I think he's just going to absolutely obliterate the pair of us, and I can't wait for it. Ultimately, he's there. He says, he said a few things. So firstly, he said that him and Punk isn't over. There will be a decider at some point in time, and it's not going to be over till one of them's in the grave. So that in itself, really cool. But then continues to stir the pot with Wardlow. So goes on saying, about kind of, Wardlow's family and this, that, and the other, and basically that he's kind of got him over a fucking what's the expression? Got him over a
barrel.
Barrel, that's the one. Got him over a barrel. So he has, in the fact that he's still
You're very Irish for a second.
You got him over a barrel, so he does. Fracking got him over a.
What are you saying, Seamus?
It's a shameful thing, this barrel. But yeah, so he's got him over a barrel, and Wardlow took a bit of umbrage to some of the things MJF said, came down, and to be fair, there was about 20 security guards there, so made Wardlow look strong in the fact that it took 20 people to restrain him.
Make Wardlow look strong.
You've got to make him look strong. But yeah, I don't know, it still remains to be seen where it's all going to go, but loved MJF's little promo, loved Wardlow coming out, I love the fact that it's starting to happen between the two of them now, and I just can't wait until Wardlow kills MJF. It's what we've all been waiting for. And,
cold blood.
It's going to be amazing. So hopefully we get there, and after quite a lackluster kind of start to the feud as part of the whole, Scorpio Sky and fucking American Top Team stuff. I'm glad that's all gone, and it is literally just MJF Wardlow now, as it should be. So, yeah.
In fucking deed. So, Carl, I don't know how I feel about this next one, which is I'm glad we've dropped those shites and highlights, because I really don't know how I feel about this one. Adam Cole.
Baby.
Right? Because, honestly, I'm kind of intrigued with the whole idea. But at the same time, it feels like they're kind of almost belittling the champ. Now, and this is obviously the idea being that, he can't beat Hangman for the title, so he's just going to steal it. And obviously we steal the tag titles too. Like, I get it. Like, in some senses I'm intrigued because, like, yeah, what does stop people from doing that? Like, really? But at the same time, it's like, is it a little bit belittling that, like, the champ can't even keep hold of his own belt? Like, I'm not sure. I just don't know how I feel. But I'm intrigued. So I'm going to class it as a plus, maybe. Even though I just, like, I don't know. Redragon, whatever it's called. I'm still not digging it, I'll be honest. But fuck it. I'm going to call it a plus. But I'm intrigued to know how you feel about the whole title theft thing.
Well, Anthony, if you take a little look, what is that thing on the fence over there? It's me. I'm there because I'm also on the fence.
Sitting on the fence.
Is it a Carl? Yeah. It's a Carl. Yeah. Is it a monster? Go away, Lance. Right. So, I think it's lazy. I think it's lazy as fuck. I think what they've done is they've gone, well, Hangman versus Cole could potentially go a couple of segments. So obviously we've had the match and Hangman won it. So what we'll do instead of moving on to someone else is we don't do this that often. We'll keep Cole kind of going after the title. So what can we do to get there? And it just kind of feels lazy to say, well, if he can't win the belt, he's just going to take it anyway. And it's like, well, why would you do that? Like, it doesn't make you the champion. You lost. You lost to the guy. So I don't know. It's not a great show for Adam Cole. I'm
intrigued by the fact that it's like, it is a bit like, well, I've got your belt. What are you going to do about it? Like, what is he going to do about it? I feel like unless they end this with Hangman just giving him a total fucking beating, it's not going to work. But I'm intrigued.
The thing is, Hangman's so chill. He'd just be like, well, you got my belt, so I'm just going to chill out and have a drink. But yeah,
however,
I don't know.
I do want to address the fact that, like, and fuck it, I'm just going to be potentially polarizing, right? They're trying to convince me that Kyle O'Reilly is fun, but he has the personality of a spud, and he's just not fun, right? I don't care what he do, he's not fun.
But Anthony, he can sell. That's all people want to see. He can sell.
He can't sell shit. I mean, honestly, he probably could. Match-wise, he's probably quite decent, but I don't know. I'm never going to be a fan because I'm fickle. Right? Fuck it, I'll throw that word out there too.
Well, you know what? You're not alone. I'm not a big fan of him, to be fair. I just, I agree with you. It's just this gormless, silly little face. All right, Kyle? You've got a gormless, silly little face. And we don't like it. That's exactly so sell that.
Right. I feel like this is where people will be like, oh, they're just so old, out of touch blokes, because this is how I feel. This is what Kyle makes me feel. Because I feel like I'm out of touch. I don't get it. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's great," and I'm like, I don't understand. It's like when I'm trying to understand the kids' music these days, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like,
kids' music these days on their iPads and the iPods.
And so I'm big enough man to admit I don't like Kyle O'Reilly because he makes me feel old.
Okay,
there you go. I've said it.
Well, there you have it. What a way to end this week in wrestling. So yeah, we've been through WWE, been through AEW. If we have the time, we will discuss other things. As Anthony said, not NXT, because other than Toxic Attraction, it's shit.
Here's the thing, NXT, right? I'm opening I'll throw down the gauntlet, if you will, right? If you do something that is worth talking about, we will talk about it. That is yet to be seen.
True that. But yeah, let us know, what do you think? Obviously we've moved away from the highlights, the O'Shites, and that kind of thing. Obviously, we've been drinking. We don't normally drink on a podcast, but
you've been drinking?
We went for. Okay, anyone listening to this goes, surely everyone knows it's Anthony that's been drinking. Well,
just because I messed with words up. It's hard.
I I kid, of course. But yeah, so obviously new format, kind of just going into obviously the top things on the shows and kind of what we think and where they potentially may be going. Maybe we'll do a bit more, you know, going forward in terms of where we think it might lead. But obviously WrestleMania is just around the corner. And, you know, AEW, we probably could have done more with that, but still. So yeah, let us know what you think. Do you prefer this format? Do you prefer the old one? Should we go back? Let us know, either in the comments here on YouTube. If you're listening to it, let us know on our socials. You probably follow us anyway, because why wouldn't you? But until next week, this has been This Week in Wrestling.
I love it.
And obviously we still got the news. We've got our WrestleMania predictions. So if you're just listening to this one, what are you doing? Listen to them as well.
Doing with your life?
Come on. You've wasted an hour listening to this, but, you know, surely you can waste 2 more. That's what I'm saying. So until next week. Oh, yeah, we have to do For the Love of Wrestling. So yeah, that's like another hour in itself.
That honestly feels like the tagline for Raw. You've wasted an hour of your life. Why not waste 2 more?
I like it. You know what? That's another shirt. But yeah, so if you like wrestling, if you're in the UK, if you're not and you fancy flying somewhere, do it. End of April. Come and check out For the Love of Wrestling. Here's this guy.
Biggest show in Europe, I believe, Carl.
It is, apparently so. I mean, this guy will probably tell you. So we're going to pass over to him, who knows more about it than us. But we'll be there. Maybe we'll see you there.
For Love of Wrestling, Europe's largest wrestling convention, returns to the Exhibition Centre in Liverpool on the 23rd and 24th of April. Guests this year include Diva of the Decade, Trish Stratus, the Wrestling God, JBL, the Dudley Boys, Torrie Wilson, and just announced MJF from AEW. We will also be doing a Wyatt family reunion as we welcome Eric Rowan, the man formerly known as Braun Strowman, and indeed the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Also just announced is the man, the legend, the icon, Sting. And of course, your Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle. This and many, many, many more guests, as well as prop builds, Q&As with all of the wrestlers, and some of the biggest wrestling collections in the world on display from our exhibitors. Get your tickets at forloveofwrestling.co.uk or search Facebook or Twitter for the Love of Wrestling. For the Love of Wrestling, Europe's biggest wrestling convention, returns to Liverpool the 23rd and the 24th of April.
Hey everybody, this is Thunder Rosa and you're watching or listening A to the K. A to the K. A to the K.
A to the K.